And this is a part of the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, which is an event which is being organized all over India. And we see so many events, so many activities going on that everyone is aware that this is that India is striding, it is moving forward. If being from this field, must be knowing that climate change, climate crisis, that is something which India is really responding very well. We have the INDCs, which we decided, and then of course now the NDCs, and the NDCs is we are making, as I understand, we are one of the few countries who have kept in pace with the goals of the NDC. Exactly. We have really kept it up. So the climate change crisis requires that we make more efforts and in pace with whatever we are doing. And I think we have a very learned speaker today, Mr. Sagar Sharma, who will give us how we are contributing towards these NDCs, which have been widely proclaimed all over the world. So I would request Mr. PV Singh to kindly introduce him. And we are looking forward to more information, more learning from you on the NDCs. Thank you very much. And welcome to all once again. Thank you. Please, Mr. PV Singh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I'll welcome to the 49th series of webinar. Skill Council for Green Job is organizing a series of webinars to celebrate Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav 2022 as a part of India's celebration of 75 years of Independence Day. In this series, SCGJ is inviting eminent and learned speakers, different sectors on sustainable development, renewable energy, and waste management, so as to deepen the understanding of recent development in these sectors. The first in the series was launched on 24th September 2024. Today we have experienced learned speaker who will be sharing his expertise and experience on India national determined contribution towards United Nations framework convenience on climate change. Mr. Sagar Sharma is presently working at the position of environment faculty at Infinity IS Academy since last 2 years. Mr. Sagar Sharma is completed BTech from IMS Ghaziabad. His branch was electronics and communication. He has cleared a project was on the theme electric vehicle and their future in India. He also presented papers on climate change and sustainable development in link between them as a part of this internship. His area of interest and specialization includes public policy, green mobility, climate change, and renewable energy. Thank you. Now over to you, Mr. Sagar.
All right, sir. Thanks for the introduction and good afternoon to all the participants. So you all might be aware about the fact that climate change is for real. Means if we go back around 20 years from now, people were not very much serious, or I would say aware about the climate change. It was mainly limited to meetings or meetings or the closed door meetings, I would say, or to the big organizations or NGOs working in this field. Now the climate change, it's so real that now everyone can feel the heat of climate change. So India, being a responsible nation, has taken many strides in combating climate change, or we can say towards fighting the climate change. And one of the major step is that India has committed itself till the year 2070 for the target of achieving net zero emissions. Now that is the biggest announcement made by India in the nationally determined contributions towards UNFCCC, right? So today we'll be discussing about this, and I'll be presenting my views, whatever I know about the past and how the climate change it has evolved, how the the various protocols have evolved, how UNFCCC has evolved, how India as a responsible nation has evolved, how the other so-called responsible and developed nations, they were expected to play that role, which they are not able to play, and India has filled that position quite significantly. So we'll be discussing this in this webinar. So shall I start now?
Yes, yes, you go ahead.
Yes. So as we all know that the since the industrial revolution period, the anthropogenic emissions, they have been rising, and such is the rise that the CO2 that was present in the atmosphere at that point of time, it was around 280 parts per metric cube in the atmosphere, but right now it has risen to 415 ppm. Now you can see that such is the quantum jump in the amount of CO2, and that is the only one greenhouse gas that is present in the atmosphere. Now the first step that was taken in terms of the environment awareness was the 1972 Stockholm conference, right? That was organized, and after that there was another report which was published in 1987. It was known as the Brundtland Commission report, and the theme of that commission, that report was Our Common Future. That report laid stress on the concept of sustainable development. Now sustainable development, as you all is a concept which is very much linked to climate change, because by incorporating this sustainable development into the sustainable lifestyle changes into our the life, we can very well fight the climate change. So sustainable development is a concept that we use the existing resources in such a judicious manner that we are able to meet our needs right now. Also we leave the resources in such a manner that the future generation, they are also able to meet their demands. So moving ahead further, then there were other protocols that were brought in. Now in 1992 there was a famous summit which was held with the name of the Rio Summit or the Earth Summit, which was held in Brazil, and the place was Rio de Janeiro, where the Rio Summit, and after that there was this UNFCCC, that was the outcome of that summit. And then there was this Kyoto Protocol which was brought in the year 1997. It was a very famous protocol. It was also infamous because USA, it did not join the protocol, so that because it was the biggest, and right now also it is one of the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. So Kyoto Protocol being both famous and infamous because of the major countries, because they were not joining the protocol, and Kyoto Protocol also had that legally binding targets which were attached with the protocol. Now moving ahead further, there were other as the Kyoto Protocol, there was another problem, was that Canada, the another biggest contributor, it also pulled out of the Kyoto Protocol due to various reasons, because countries were not following the set targets, the legally binding targets which they were intended to. उसके बाद अब ये क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल से हम आगे बढ़े, आगे हमने और जब ये सीओपी एक कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज होती है जिसमें ये सारे और जो कंट्रीज हैं ये आके मिलती हैं और डिसाइड करती है। हम और भी जो कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज है, ये एक कोपेनहेगन जो डेनमार्क की राजधानी है वहां पे भी हुई थी। उसके बाद एक कैनकन में एक समिट हुई थी जो मैक्सिको में है, और उसके बाद 2015 में एक पेरिस में एक समिट हुई थी जो कि बहुत ही ज्यादा फेमस रही, क्योंकि वो समिट ने ये तय किया कि हम आगे का 2015 में पेरिस जो क्लाइमेट समिट हुई थी, उसके बाद जो ये तय हुआ कि हम आगे जो हमारी फ्यूचर ट्रेजेक्टरी है वो क्लाइमेट चेंज को कम्बैट करने के लिए हम कैसे आगे बढ़ेंगे। तो ये जो कुछ एक पास्ट का मैंने आपको एक थोड़ा सा बताया कि कैसे कैसे हम आगे बढ़े। अब इसमें और भी प्रॉब्लम जैसे कंट्रीज के साथ रही है कि ये डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज, अब इन्होंने जब अपना डेवलपमेंट किया तो ये जो ज्यादातर रिसोर्सेज है और क्लाइमेट चेंज और पोल्यूशन के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज है, बिकॉज डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज के पास उस समय वो टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं थी, वो जो डेवलपमेंट की ट्रेजेक्टरी थी वो फॉलो नहीं कर रहे थे, क्योंकि उनके पास अपने सेट ऑफ चैलेंजेस रहे हैं हमेशा से। तो जो ये क्लाइमेट चेंज जो जो जितनी भी नेगोशिएशंस होती है, इसमें एक प्रॉब्लम जो रहती है वो ये रहती है कि एक कॉमन बट डिफरेंशिएटेड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज का कंसेप्ट आता है। जो जो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज हैं वह ये चाहती है कि जो क्लाइमेट चेंज को कम्बैट करने के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज तो सारे नेशंस पे रहेंगी, क्योंकि क्लाइमेट चेंज किसी एक कंट्री को ज्यादा इफेक्ट नहीं करेगा वो, क्योंकि क्लाइमेट चेंज और ये जो पोल्यूशन और ये जितने चीजें हैं ये बॉर्डर देख के डिमार्केट करके कंट्रीज को इफेक्ट नहीं करता, ये यू होल को इफेक्ट करता है। बट तब भी जैसे, क्योंकि जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज हैं उन्होंने पहले जो डेवलपमेंट में आगे जो बढ़त ले ली थी, उसको मद्देनजर रखते हुए जो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज की मांग है कि जो उन्होंने पुराना जो डेवलपमेंट किया है, तो जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज है वह कायदे में उन लोगों की ज्यादा बनती, तो इसलिए ये जो कॉमन बट डिफरेंशिएटेड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और एक उसको ही आगे, और हम अगर देखें तो एक रिस्पेक्टेड कैपेबिलिटीज करके एक कंसेप्ट और आता है कि हर कंट्री की जो अपनी खुद की जितनी कैपेबिलिटी है क्लाइमेट चेंज को कम्बैट करने के लिए, वो क्या है। नाउ that is why the Paris Agreement is very important, because as I've explained that Paris Agreement, it is because this the differentiated responsibilities, respective capabilities, they all form the basis of the Paris Agreement. Now moving ahead further, you can change the slide. Now Paris Agreement, it is a legally binding international treaty. Now legally binding is that in case if we go beyond the targets, then there can be some penalties imposed, and it was adopted in the year 2015, and there were 196 parties which were present in the conference of party meeting at the venue, and we adopted the Paris Agreement. Now the goal was to limit the temperature rise till 2 degrees centigrade and preferably 1.5 degrees centigrade. Now this goal is linked to the report that was published by IPCC. Now that is the another organization which works in the climate change field. The IPCC is Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. Now to achieve all these long-term temperature goals, now the countries, they aim to achieve the global peaking of emissions, the maximum emission they can emit, and they have set a timeline to achieve that. Now next slide. So Paris Agreement, as I explained, that it is a landmark agreement, because the binding agreement, although the binding agreement, legally binding agreement, was present in the Kyoto Protocol also, but the countries, they were not following it, and the major countries like USA, Canada, because USA, although it it joined the agreement, but it did not ratify, which is as good as not joining the agreement. And about Canada, it pulled out of the agreement. So that is why Paris Agreement is important, because it it set the binding, legally binding targets for the countries, and on most of the countries, like it is mentioned that 196 parties, they were they were the parties to the agreement. So that is why this agreement is more landmark in its achievement. Next slide. Now this is the 5-year cycle. 5-year cycle is that you have to update your plans according to this cycle and report them. Now next slide. Now how does this Paris Agreement work? As I've already explained that it works on a 5-year cycle. the countries, they have to report their nationally determined contributions, and these contributions, they had to be submitted by 2020, and after 2020 there will be a 5-year cycle review, means are we on the track to achieve these targets or not, and in case if we are not, then the targets can be revised, or they can be made, the changes can be made accordingly. Now next. Now countries, they have to communicate their nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC secretariat, that is the major hosting body of United Nations framework for climate change. And also the target should be such that the more emphasis is to be made on adaptation rather than mitigation. Also, now see, there has been the strategy has been changed from mitigation to adaptation. For earlier we were focusing more on mitigation, means the after effects of the once the disaster because of the climate change or any other for that matter occurs, the more focus was on mitigation, the after effects, how to deal with them. Now the focus post Paris climate treaty, it has shifted to the adaptation, means how better we can adapt to the climate change, how we can the as we know that the low lying communities, they are most vulnerable to the climate change. Now for example, if we take the communities which the fishing community, and there is a great probability that that sea level, it will rise because of the climate change. Now the most affected community will be the fishing community. So we have to make sure that that the fishing community, they are able to adapt to the climate change. Now adaptation can be in various forms, like you can build shelter walls, or you can shift them back from the shoreline areas to other 2 or 3 kilometers back from the shoreline towards the city. So there can be various adaptation measures that can be incorporated in our strategies. Next slide. Now long-term approaches is because here we have to make sure that our the strategies of the various countries including India should be such that that they should be spread over a long period of time, because the climate change, earlier what happened is that we became conscious about climate change since last 20 years. Now more emphasis is being laid since last 10 years. Now the rate of climate change, it has drastically increased since last 5 or 10 years. So, and it is not such that the destruction that has taken place, it will be minimized in 1 or 2 years. So that is why long-term approaches are needed to combat climate change. Next. You can take the next slide. Now, how do countries support the other countries? Now here countries, it's written that the countries are supporting one another. Here more focus is on the countries, the developed countries, how they are supporting the other developing countries. Now that is basically done at the 3 levels. The first level is the financial level, the second level is the technical level, and the other is the capacity building level. Now we'll take the first level, that is the financial level. You can share the next slide, please. Now the financial level is that now developing countries, as we know that they're still not able to follow that trajectory. They still have their old third world problems. They face the problem of poverty, and that problem is all made acute by climate change, because poorer people, they are the worst sufferer because of the climate change. Now to combat all this, finance is required, means whatever you do, if you are building shelters, you are providing money, you're providing food, you're providing aid, or for all that you require finance, you require money. That is the biggest thing that is required to fight the climate change. So the developing countries, and the developed country, it has been decided in many agreements and many such protocols that the developed countries, they will provide fund to developing country, and the result is that the developed countries, they have they have defaulted on their targets, and the developed countries are still waiting for that money. So that is the problem with the finance. Although the intention behind finance is that the developing countries will help the developed country, I'm sorry, they'll help the developing country, but which is not being followed. Next slide. So all this is related to the finance that will be provided. Now there is this Green Climate Fund, which is headquartered in South Korea. Now, Green Climate Fund, the aim was to provide $100 billion, means the developed countries, they will contribute $100 billion, and the $100 billion in finance will be taken to help the developing countries. Now, that the current status of the Green Climate Fund is that they are not able to meet their targets, and again the developed countries, they have defaulted on their payments. Next slide. Now, technology here is related to technology transfer. So the other pillar of the Paris Agreement is technology transfer, and here the countries, again, it can be done at the level of, means, developed country helping the developing country, or it can be a mutual a memorandum of understanding between developing countries also. Now, in order to fight climate change, you shift to renewable energy, or you shift to other forms of green energy. You need to have that technology, whether it is related to green, to the e-vehicles or flexi fuel vehicles, which are fast gaining traction these days, or the solar cells. Now, if you look at the countries from countries which are in Africa, they are very poor. They don't have the technology, or even the money is not there. So what is expected out of the developed countries, that they'll transfer the technology to the developing countries, so that the developing countries, they'll be able to fight the climate change. Next slide. Now, capacity building, it is done at the level of training the individuals. Now, capacity building level is that you train individuals for particular jobs. Now that is serving two purpose. It will help in fighting the climate change also, and it will provide the employment also. Because if you train the locals, they are the first responder to any crisis which is present in the country, or which the country faces. So that is why the country, the developed country, or for that matter, the other developing countries which are in better position than the have-nots, the less beneficial country, they can help train the manpower, or they can help people acquire those skills to train them in dealing with disasters, or they can help them gain employment in such sectors which will be beneficial in combating climate change. Next slide. Now, nationally determined contribution. Now, the Paris Agreement and its long-term objectives, now there has to be some basis for their long-term objective, and that basis is nationally determined contributions. Now, each country has to present its nationally determined contribution. India presented its nationally determined contribution in the year 2015 itself. There were many other countries which have presented the nationally determined contribution in 2015. Now, in the year 2020 or 21, I would say that India has presented its updated nationally determined contribution. Now, updated in the sense that because as you can see that the climate change, there is one more concept which you can relate to. Climate change is a natural phenomenon, because our earth has witnessed climate change since ages. Now, there was this ice age, then there was the other ages which were present. The climate change is a natural phenomenon which has to which will take place on the earth. But right now, what is happening is that because of the anthropogenic emissions, the rate of climate change has drastically increased. So that is why the main problem is that you have to slow down that rate, because you cannot stop the climate from changing. You can only slow down. So that is why the main focus is on slowing down the rate. Now, slowing down the rate, that will be done here if we take Paris Agreement for into context, and taking the nationally determined contribution. Now these contributions, they'll be aligned in such a way that each country will present it from their side, so that they can do their bit in slowing down the rate of climate change. So next slide. So as I mentioned that more focus right now in the when the Paris Climate Agreement, it came into force in the year 2015. Still at that point of time, the more focus was on mitigation, means how we could deal with the after effects of the disaster or the after effect of climate change. But now the focus has shifted to adaptation, means how we can better adapt ourselves to the climate change, how we can be ready in order to face the vagaries of nature when the climate change is taken into context. So each nation has to present the nationally determined contribution, which is post 2020 climate action, because this 2020 has been taken as a benchmark year. Next slide. Now this is all I've explained. Next slide. You can next slide. Next slide. Okay, now the most important part of the webinar, that the main focus on India and its nationally determined contribution. There is there is a lot of there is a lot of information that is flowing, that India has updated its nationally determined contributions lately. India had already presented its nationally determined contribution in 2015. That point of time, our priorities were different. Obviously, development has always been a priority. To move forward has always been a priority. But at that point of time, the pace of development was not same as it is right now. So India presented its the nationally determined contribution in the updated form. Now the current PM, Honorable Mr. Narendra Modi, he has taken personal interest and keen interest to make sure that India remains on the trajectory of climate change, and India acts as a responsible player. Now, if we are to talk about the other countries, if we were to talk about the top 4 contributors to the climate change, or if we were to talk about the top 4 contributors in terms of CO2, which is one of the most prominent gases which contributes toward the climate change. China is the biggest contributor, USA is the second biggest contributor, and India lies on the 4th position if we take EU as a combined country. EU, that is the European Union. Now, but if we see that the per capita emissions of India is way ahead than the countries which lie at the 9th or 10th position in terms of emissions of greenhouse gas. So what I mean to say is that the per capita emission of a normal Indian is way less than the countries which are India, because of its sheer size, is emitting the such large amount of greenhouse gases, but the per capita emission are still less. So the policy was designed in a way, the contributions, they were designed in a way to reflect our priorities, and also to incorporate the development priorities that would take in the future. Because right now what we are emitting at the personal level, obviously it will increase. as the population is also increasing, although the rate of population is stabilized right now, but the increase in population is still present. So we had to develop the policy in this form. So the updated nationally determined contribution, they were presented. Now the main focus of the nationally determined contribution is on achieving, the biggest takeaway was the India committing itself to be a net zero emission economy by 2070. Now by net zero here we mean that it's not that we'll stop emitting emissions at all. The number of the amount of emissions that we'll be emitting, the equal amount of emission that we'll be able to sequester from the climate. So there we'll be able to balance. So that here comes the concept of net zero, the net zero climate emissions. Now why this net zero till 2070 is important? Because India has never committed itself to achieve net zero climate emissions, to become a net zero economy. India has always insisted on the targets which are achievable, but as we can see that now we are developing and we are more focusing on renewables, we are more focusing on solar energy, we are more focusing on wind energy. So that in the hindsight, it's now it is approachable that India can also target toward being a net zero economy by 2070. Now the main idea behind the nationally determined contributions that were presented is the Panchmirit concept, which was given by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Glasgow summit, which was the COP21. Now the Panchmirit is as suggestive as its name. There were 5 elements which were given out by the Prime Minister as the part of the India's contribution, the nationally determined contribution. The first being the net zero emitter by 2070. Now the other being that we'll be achieving the emission intensity, right? We'll be cutting the emission intensity by 45% till 2030. There will be 2.5 to 3 billion ton of carbon sinks that will be incorporating into our strategy. We'll be creating another 1 billion tons of carbon reduction in our economy through various measures. Also, there is another thing that we first committed of achieving in the 2015 when we presented our nationally determined contribution. We presented that we'll be taking our renewable energy target to 450 gigawatts now till 2030. Now this target has also been revised. Now this target has been increased to 500 gigawatts 500 gigawatt till 2030. Now all these targets barring the net zero emission target till 2070, all these targets are to be achieved till 2030. Now these targets are quite futuristic, and now and also if we look in the past background, India is the only country which has been highlighted by World Bank, IMF, also by IPCC, and also by United Nations Environment Program. These are the various organizations which work in the field of climate change. Although World Bank, it's famous for its the economist and the lending thing, but World Bank is also associated with many climate change projects. They have also highlighted that among the major economies, India is the only country which is on trajectory to achieve its climate change goal. So we have incorporated this strategy well into our development trajectory, right? And right now, the incorporation has been to such a level, and the achievement has been to such a level that we have been increasing our targets. That is why we presented our updated and nationally determined contribution at the Glasgow summit. So, and also the other important point that we need to know is that most of the major economies, I would say most of the developed countries, they have presented their net zero emission targets till 2050. But India being a developing country, the development priorities are different, the rate of development, we have a vast population which is still below the poverty line. We have to cater to the needs of different set of population. Our challenges are different, our geography is totally different, being surrounded by sea on three side, and then we have the mighty Himalayas, which are also abode to the glaciers. So the climate change challenges are also different for us, the development priorities are different for us. So we have to incorporate and we have to keep all these things in mind while defining and determining the nationally determined contributions. You can shift on to the next slide. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. Now there is this report by the World Resource Institute that right now India is emitting around 3.3 billion ton of greenhouse gases. But as we have committed to reduce 1 billion ton of 1 billion ton of greenhouse gas emission, the reduction has been promised. Now this equally translates into 2 to 3% of emission cuts, which at the face value it seems that it is very less. But if we see the sheer size of the Indian economy in terms of in concrete terms, the value is much larger. Next slide. Next. Also as a part of the nationally determined contributions, there are some sub targets also which we have present, that we aim to decarbonize our Indian railways, and Indian railways to be fully run on renewable energy by 2030. And also there have been various schemes which have been promoting the use of renewable energy. Now, if we talk about the LEDs, most of the people might be aware that India has also used LEDs as a medium to combat climate change, which are different from the incandescent bulbs which were present, which used to emit greenhouse gases. Now the target is to cut the emissions by 40 billion tons till 2030. Next slide. Also, the Honorable Prime Minister at the COP26, he presented the one word movement. He presented a word in order to combat the climate change, which everybody all over the world could connect with. Now the word is life, which stands for lifestyle for environment. So we have to make sure that our lifestyle is such that it will be in harmony with the environment, and will be causing no harm to the environment. So the approach that India has always kept in the center is the citizen centric approach. Now we have kept the citizens in the center, and then we have devised all the policies. Here also in the nationally determined contribution, the citizens have been kept in the center, and the contributions, the targets have been devised in such a way. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, that the nationally determined contributions, the time period is 2021 to 2030. So most of the targets were presented, they are up to 2030. And in case there is also room for updation of image, in case if we are well within the limits to achieve the targets, we can, we can update our targets. That's all on us. Also, like we have updated our targets. So right now the period is from 2021 to 2030. Next slide. Talking about the jobs that will be generated in the sector, in all the sector: renewable energy, the clean energy, automotive industry. Automotive industry, if we talk about particularly the charging stations that will be coming up, the infrastructure that is being set up recently. If we talk about 2 days back from now, there were around 12 charging stations which were inaugurated in Delhi itself. Also, there is the concept of flexi fuel vehicles, which is fast emerging up now. Flexi fuel vehicles, which can be both run on the renewable energy and also on the fossil fuels. So that now these are some developments which are taking place in this sector. Also, there is a lot of the lot of push which is given to the green hydrogen. Now there is this separate mission which is dedicated to increase the usage and the research of green hydrogen, which is the national mission on green hydrogen, which is run by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. And now the next slide. And I've already talked about the adaptation and mitigation. The focus now has shifted from mitigation to adaptation in most of the projects. The next slide. Okay, and I've already mentioned about the Indian Railways. The aim is to achieve the net zero emissions by 2030. So that is the sub plan of our nationally determined contributions. Next. About the LED bulb, also I mentioned that the emissions, the aim is to cut down the emissions by 40 million tons through the LED bulb push. Next. Now, about the financial and the technology that is required to achieve all these commendable targets that India has placed on record. Now, finance is always, as I mentioned earlier, that is the main obstacle in order to achieve the climate change targets. And technology, obviously, we need technology also, because the research and the development part is still is still not very much up to the benchmark, which is as compared to the developed country. So India is also asked on the global platform, like recently in the COP26, which was held in Glasgow. The Prime Minister remarked about that the developed countries, they have faltered on their financial and the technological transfer targets. So that was also the highlight of the summit, which was highlighted by the Prime Minister of India. Next. Now, this is the process of developing the nationally determined contribution. The consultations are held between various ministries, because we have to take into account the interest of every section of population. So that is why there are various consultation which are held. It is also held with the PM Council on Climate Change, with the Prime Minister and the other ministers. And we have already devised the various national and state action plan for climate change. Now, this was already the national action plan for climate change was already devised in the year 2008. So such futuristic was our approach since 2000, I would say. Earlier then also, if we talk about India's approach to climate change in more detail, we have already had laws which were dealing with wildlife protection in the year 1972 itself. So we had this Wildlife Protection Act in the year 1972. We have the Environmental Protection Act in the year 1986. We had this Water Act in the year 1970s, the Air Act. There are the other acts also. After that, since 2000 we had this major push towards climate change, and also we had this national action plan on climate change since the year 2008. Now there are 8 sub plans as a part of this national action plan for climate change, and these national action plan for climate change, they have sub parts. One of them is the national action plan for green economy, for sustainable for sustaining Himalayan ecosystem. So if we see the policy which is which is made by the government of India, if we take into whether it is any party in power, the policy has been such that we take the holistic development into consideration, and also the different set of challenges which are present in front of us, they are also taken into consideration. Next slide. So at the end, I would say that the targets which are present, the updated targets rather, which are presented, which were presented at the Glasgow summit, the COP26, were quite laudable, and many organizations have remarked that India has always if we take the prior record of India, it was on the target to achieve its emission, and rather it was only major economy which was on its road to achieve its emission. And in future also we hope that India, under the guidance of our honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, it will be on the trajectory, the right trajectory rather, to achieve its emission targets which it has promised. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Sharma.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have really, see, we have all been being a part of renewable energy. We have been a part of the NDCs while they were being formulated in the ministry. But you have given a very detailed and a comprehensive, the historical aspects, and then how this concept or how it has evolved over the various, this thing. So I feel the presentation was very good and you have covered every part of it. Only, regulations are there. Our policies are very good. Our objectives are very good, though
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are in sync with what we have proposed. But still I feel, don't you feel that some sort of more activity or some sort of more, because finance becomes a limitation.
Yes.
Green energy fund was never available.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what do you feel, how we can make it better? Like they say, the just transition. We
Yes.
have to be very careful with the vulnerable groups. We have to see that
Yes.
some people who are displaced, they get jobs, good jobs in this thing. So
Yes.
what is your take in this? How we should have a full system that where no one suffers and we meet
Yes.
our energy goals. So
Yes. So, ma'am, the question means the query that you asked. I would like to quote our honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji here, where he further quoted about the life, the one word movement, lifestyle for environment. So if we incorporate those lifestyle changes, so these are small changes, but they have to be, they need to be taken at the level of the citizen level. We tend to neglect this level, but the changes, they have to start from us, means the most of the people, like me and you, or even if we popularize this concept at the school level, I would say it will be more beneficial. And these changes, means they'll be systematically transferred to the other levels. And yes, finance, as you have said, that finance has always been an issue. In future also there will be issue related to finance. But if we talk about the solar cells, taking the example or taking clue from solar cells, when they were brought into India, the cost was very high. But now if you see that the power generation cost has been significantly reduced. Now this has been possible only because of the research and development that was supported by the government of India. The rates have been reduced to such a level that even a normal person can afford these solar cells to be installed at their places. And this has been done at the mission mode. Also, you can see that they have brought this Kusum scheme where they have used these solar powered pumps to generate electricity. Even the farmers, they can sell their they can sell their electricity, and they can earn money through selling that electricity. So such type of schemes, where the stakeholders, they see some sort of benefit which can be, which they can derive from such schemes, definitely the changes can be brought. More, I can see that the government, with the help of government, the government support, and making the stakeholder more conscious about their responsibilities, the changes can be brought in long run.
In what we were and what we are now, the concept. Even if you talk to, like you said about consciousness, you
Yes.
talk to friends, you talk to people,
Yes.
they are aware about solar panels being put on their houses. In
Yes.
fact, most of them have requested me that we want this to be on our house, please help us.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that consciousness is there, but still
Yes.
we need to do a lot. Waste is something I feel. Yesterday in the news it was there, that Balsava landfill.
Yes.
You see what a mess it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Though again, our Prime Minister has said that I think in the next 5 years there will be no, dump like this across Delhi or all in the NCR. But
Yes.
still, I feel that consciousness, the participation of the citizen or the individual, that is
Yes.
very important.
Yes.
That again, there has to be people like you have to really be warriors. You have to really be a crusader, that we have to take this forward. And there are many like you who feel the commitment is there, young people. So I think if there are any other questions, because the presentation was very beautiful, you covered every aspect of it. I have been with the IPCC as one of the authors for bioenergy.
Okay.
So I could see that the coverage is very good, very comprehensive. And we have moved, it was in 2011 that the report had come, the special
Yes,
report
ma'am.
on renewable energy.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So I was a part of the bioenergy group.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have moved much beyond that, but still that 1.5 degree, 2 degree is still a commitment. Still
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have to do. And when people give projections nowadays, they say that if we will not do what we are required to do,
Yes.
our temperatures will rise more.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can see the changes. Sometimes there is
Yes.
flood, sometimes there is drought,
Yes.
sometimes there is, floods to everywhere.
Yes.
There's a lot of devastation, not
Yes.
only in India, it is all over the world.
All over
The glaciers are melting.
Yes, ma'am.
So this, yes, we need to do a lot so
Yes.
that our next generation is,
Yes.
at least they can breathe properly.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
least
Yes.
they have access
Exactly.
to the resources.
Exactly.
We should
Yes.
not consume everything what we
Yes.
have.
Yes, ma'am.
So are there any questions? I don't think there are any questions. So very well presented, very well, very good coverage, very good coverage. So I can thank you and ask Mr. Thomas is there from, he is one of our, yeah.
Hello.
So do you want to ask anything, Mr. Thomas?
See, actually, I just want to ask one question. See,
Yeah,
we
please,
want
please.
to know something more about carbon bonds and how could we get this exchange, all those things. Maybe this is not the right stage to answer that, but
I can.
please.
I can give it a try. Means based upon my limited knowledge, if I am correct, you are asking about the carbon bonds.
Yeah.
Okay.
The exchange and the exchange of how could we offset the
Yes.
that, money offsetting, all those things are there.
Okay. Now this concept about the carbon offsetting of emissions, right, and the carbon bonds or the clean development mechanism or the joint implementation, I'm just enhancing this a bit further. Now this has been in news, or I would say these terms, they have been popular since the year 1997.
Yeah,
and why I'm talking about 1997, because Kyoto Protocol was the protocol which was brought at that point of time, and the joint implementation clean development mechanism they were the pillars on which Kyoto Protocol is based, right? And now coming to your question, how this carbon bond and carbon offsetting, now how we can increase it, right? This was the question.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yes.
And how we could get that one?
How we can get that bond?
I mean,
I think, Mr. Thomas, some companies, they issue it like normal bonds. There are,
yeah.
yeah, I think so. Like, I think
They were this,
Department
sorry,
of
ma'am.
Power UP government, they had some, I don't know, IREDA also.
Yes,
I
IREDA
feel
is there.
they're issued like normal bonds.
Yes.
Yeah. How to access that, you have to apply, I think so. You should know when they are out and when you apply.
But yes, I remember this Yes Bank, they have launched some green bonds. So it was the first bank which launched the green bonds. So I guess you can subscribe to those bonds through that channel. Banking would be an appropriate channel. But, you know, this also has to be popularized, means the carbon bond mechanism. This will be a very, I would say, a very good concept in order to finance the technologies, or the you know, in terms of developing the capacity, the skill of the people who will work as the warriors to combat the climate change. Also, the concept of municipal bonds is very famous in order to when you were talking about the waste, to tackle the e-waste or the waste disposal. So municipal bonds, they are very famous right now. Carbon bonds, they can be launched on the same trajectory, and they can also become famous if we follow the same trajectory of the municipal bonds that are famous right now in India.
Thank you very much. So any other question? We have Dr. Saxena. Would you like to?
Ma'am, he is busy somewhere, I think.
Okay. So I think now we can formally thank you. I'll ask Mr. PB Singh to kindly formally thank you. And from my side also, very good presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks for your
Before I'll say thanks, I would like to, on behalf of SCGJ, I'd like to wish Happy Diwali to all of you.
Yeah, of course.
And I would like to thank Mr. Sharma for his knowledgeable and very good presentation. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
I would like to thank all the participants who are joined the webinar for his valuable time. Thank you all for your participations. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, and a happy Diwali from my side also.
Happy Diwali.
You and all the participants.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Happy Diwali.
Mr. Randir Singh, I can see so many. Mr. Taneja.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy
Thank
Diwali
you.
to all of
Happy
you.
Diwali.
Happy
Yeah.
Diwali
And
to
Paul
all.
is also
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Sagar. It was a very wonderful and a very knowledgeable session, and
Yes.
wish you a very happy Diwali.
Yes. Thanks. Same to you, sir. Same.
Happy Diwali from my side also.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Happy Diwali.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.